Hello, welcome to Code Keywords. My name is Dr. Adejo, and today we're going to um, do cell referencing in Excel. This is Module 5 of our Introduction to Excel course. So I'm just going to go straight ahead and share my screen. Okay, so this is my screen shared. So hello, my name is Dr. Adejo. Welcome to Coding Keywords. And today we are continuing our Introduction to Excel course. This is Module 5, and we're going to look at cell referencing in Excel. I'm going straight to share my screen so that we start the activity. So just to be sure that my screen is shared properly and I'm audible. So we're going to look at cell referencing. So previously we looked at basic formulas and functions. That was module 4. And we saw how uh, to use formulas in Excel. We saw we needed to write the equal to sign, and we saw how to use the formulas directly on numbers and also how to use referencing. We also looked at the different arithmetic operators, and we saw how to copy formulas. We also saw the important functions we need to know how to use in Excel, which includes the sum function, the average function, the count function, the max function, the min function. And we saw that functions are pre-built formulas in Excel that we have to take advantage of to make working in Excel easier. So today we're going to see how to work with cell references. We understand how Excel adjusts formulas when copied, and we'll see how to correctly use the different types of references, which are the relative reference, the absolute, and mixed reference. And then we'll also see about predicting the behavior of our formulas before we copy them. And we're going to basically answer why formulas change sometimes when they are copied. Just a quick check on the stream to be sure that everything is fine, and we go straight to activity. So first of all, we have to understand that Excel formulas are dynamic. So they're very dynamic in how they work. When a formula is copied, Excel adjusts the references automatically. So we'll see about copying formulas. And then the adjustment follows relative positioning, not fixed addresses. Excel does not copy formulas exactly. It copies the logic. Okay, so we're going to see relative references. I'm just going to go over here and I have my first data set here. And I'm going to paste it here. Just add a little bit of space on the width to accommodate the data set. And then this is my data set. So I have a data set here, which is to calculate the commission. And sales, we have sales reps, 4 sales reps, we have the amounts, and then we have the commission rates. So I'm going to come over here and then and create a new column. This is column D, and here I calculate the commission. So the commission has to do with how much is given to each of the sales rep based on the sales amount. So I'm just going to have a formula. So I'm coming over, this is cell O3, Remember, you can always check the name bar. This is O3. And I type equal to, and then here I have the sales amount. I'm going to multiply the sales amount by the commission rate. I press equal to, and that's the commission. So this is the commission value here. Now, what we observe is that the commission rate is the same for all of them. So I'm going to come over here. Remember, you look at my cursor currently is white. It's a white plus sign, and I bring it to the bottom right of this cell where I have the formula. It becomes black, and I drag it down. And so I have applied it. So what we see is, let's have a look. This is O3. So we're looking at O3, and we're looking at the formula bar here. It's M3 times N3. And let me go down to O4, M4 times N4. I go down to O5, it's M5 times N5. I go to O6 is M6 times N6, and this is what we call relative referencing. So as I copied the formula from O3 down all the way to O6, it used relative referencing. So it kept updating from M3 and N3 to M4 and N4 to M5 and N5 to M6 and N6. So it's relative. It's not fixed. It didn't stay, even though I copied from from O3, the formula did not remain M3. Rather, it moved to M4. So it's relative. It isn't fixed. So that's what we mean by relative references. They change when copied, and they are used for repetitive calculations. Okay, so if we write B2 plus C2, copy it down, it will become B3 plus C3. So it will keep incrementing as we go down. Okay, so we can use this to calculate the totals per row. We saw that in the last module, and we can also use it to calculate, to do calculations per item. So that's about our relative referencing is the default mode of referencing when we're working with formulas in Excel. Now let's look at absolute references, and we're going to look at a case where we would have to use it. So I'm just going to insert more columns so that I can work without interference from the previous data set. Okay, so next up, I'm going to work with dataset 5B. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this here. And just adjust the column widths. Okay, so I have a data set here, and this data set is a data set where I have product prices, and I'm to calculate their taxes. Okay, so we have four products. We have four products, and then we have the unit price, the quantity, the subtotal, the tax, and the cost. So just a quick check the stream to be sure everything is fine, everything is still okay. All right, so first we're going to calculate the subtotals, the total cost of the product, and then we're going to calculate the tax, and then we're going to find the total cost. Okay, so to do the subtotal, all we need to do is multiply the unit price by the quantity. So I have that there, and then I copy the formula down, and I've been able to get the subtotals. Now is to calculate the tax, and the tax is going to be calculated from the tax rates, and it's going to be applied on the subtotal. So to calculate the tax, I'm going to pick the tax rates and multiply it by the subtotal. So I'm going to do that, and then there you go. So let's look at it. I have M8, and that's because the tax rate is over here at M8, and I'm multiplying it by O3, and that's because the subtotal is there. Now watch what happens. I want to copy this formula across, to copy it down to apply it to the other products. So I'm going to come over here. When my mouse cursor becomes black, I'm going to drag it down, and there you go. See what happened. Look at what happens. So rather than having the actual tax computed, I'm having zero. So what happens? Let's look at this. This is M8 times O3, and I can double click. When I double click, I'm able to have the reference cells highlighted. And now let's go over here. This is M9 times O4. M9 times O4. Look at that. So because due to relative referencing, the address was copied um, down. So it increased from M8 to M9. Now that's why I have M9 here. I still have O4, but then I have an issue here. And so because this is blank, I'm having an issue here, and so on and so forth. This is M10, you see, and this is M11. So this just goes to show us that relative referencing does not work here. And that is how we're going to, and that is why we're going to use absolute referencing. So I'm going to come here and change it. So let me do Control Z, okay? And then I'm going to slightly modify this formula. So here I have um, M8, M8 times O3. So I'm going to come over here and then I'm going to use absolute referencing. So when we use absolute referencing, that's when we want a particular reference to be fixed. In this case, we want the tax rate in M8 to be fixed. So we're going to add a dollar sign before the column and also before the row. So we're doing that to fix both the essentially fixing the cell. So if I do that, I'm trying to say that when I copy the formula down and apply it to other cells, I want Excel to remain at M8 for the tax rate. So let me drag it down. And there you go. So let me inspect it. This is M8 times O3. This is M8 times O4, M8 times O5, and finally M8 times O6. So this is absolute referencing. And then I can come over here and calculate the total cost. And my total cost will just be the subtotal plus the tax. Subtotal plus the task, and then I can apply it down. And so that's absolute referencing. So here, the references do not change when copied. And then we use the dollar symbol to lock the row and the column. So we can either lock the row or the column or both. In this case, we did both of them. And here we see when we lock both the column and the row, we have this here, similar to what we did, similar to what we have when calculating our tax. And then if we want to lock only the column, dollar sign before the column name. If we want to lock only the row, we have the dollar sign before the row number. And we can use F4 to toggle the different reference types. All right, so now let's look at another example where we're going to see how to do mixed references. So I need a little bit, some more columns. Okay, so our final example is going to be the multiplication grid. The multiplication grid. And this is dataset 5C. So we have our multiplication grid here, and what we want to do is to be able to fill up the numbers that form our times table. So let me just do this merge and center, make this bold, maybe increase it a bit, and then just add a bit of style there. Okay, so just a quick check at the stream to be sure everything is fine. All right, so now we want to do fill up our multiplication grid here. So we have to look at it carefully and note what we want to achieve. So what do we want to do here? So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the column. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 across the row, and we've got different cells. So let me put the border here. So we've got different cells that we want to fill. All right, so now let me come over here. This is cell M3. This is cell M3. And in cell N3, I want to do 2 times 1. Here, cell N3, I want to do 2 times 2. Here, I want to do 2 times 3. And here, I want to do 2 times 4. Essentially, I just want to fill up the cells where the row multiplies the column. Now, coming over here, I want to do 2 times 1. And down here, N4, M4, I want to do 3 times 1. Okay, so what it means is that across, I want to maintain the row, and then down, I want to maintain the column at the same time. So let's see how to do it. So if I come over here and I use relative referencing, I'll just do L3 times M2. That is what I would do, but that's not how I want to apply it down. So I'm going to come over here, and then L3, which represents the row here, which is 2, I want it to be maintained across. I want it to be maintained across. So what I'm going to do is to come over here, and then I'm going to put a dollar sign. I'm going to put a dollar sign to maintain that column across. Okay, so I'm also going to come over to M2, which is the column, and I want to maintain that value down. So I want to maintain 1 down that column. And so I'm going to put a dollar sign before the row number so that I'm able to maintain that row down the column. So let's see what happens. So let me go down first. So I'm going down, and there you go. Let's inspect it. Here I have L3 times M2. Here I have L4 times M2. Here I have L5 times M2. Here I have L6 times M2. And here I have L7 times M2. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same across the row, and then just to inspect. So here I have L3 times M2. Here I have L3 times N2. Here I have L3 times O2. And here I have L3 times P2. We can see that. Okay, so I can just come over here, select this range, and then just apply the formula across, and it is applied. And so that is how I filled my multiplication grid. Now this can get tricky. This can get tricky. Let's go over it again. So here I have cell M3, and cell M3 is going to be L3 multiplied by M2, L3 multiplied by M2. So I'm going to figure out how I want to move down. So when I'm moving down from M3 and coming down to M4, I want to maintain 1. Okay, so over here, I'm going to make it 3 times 1. Okay, here it was 2 times 1. So when I come down, I want it to be 3 times 1. So I'm maintaining 1. And so because I'm maintaining 1 down, I'm going to ensure that that row is locked. And that's why I have a dollar sign before 2 for M2. And then when I'm moving to the right, I'm going to maintain L3. Okay, so here I have L3 times M2. And then I move over here, I'm still going to have L3 times N2. And here I'm going to see, and here I'm having L3 times P2. So I'm maintaining L3. I'm maintaining L3. And so because I'm maintaining L3, so I'm going to lock L. So I'm locking the column so that it doesn't change. And that's how I have it. Okay. Whenever you want a particular cell to be fixed on its column, you lock the row. And whenever you want a particular cell to be fixed on its row, you lock the column. So here we locked the column L and the row 2. So we want column L to be fixed as we go down, and we want row 2 to be fixed as we go right. So with some practice, you would get used to it. So one part moves, the other stays fixed. And that's what we have here, which is a mixed reference. And then, okay, so we've been able to do the activity. All right, so we're just going to wrap up here. This is our guide to using references. If the value should change, we use relative reference like we saw. If the value should stay fixed, we use absolute reference. Now, if one dimension should stay fixed, we use mixed reference. And then these are some of the common errors to avoid. Forgetting to lock the reference, locking the wrong part of the reference, hard coding values instead of referencing, and then misusing our mixed references. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this module. That brings us to the end of the module, and this is a follow-up on module 4, which was on basic calculations. And see that you have to understand referencing for you to be able to use Excel calculations properly. So you need to understand how the formulas are copied. You need to understand how Excel is looking at the cell. So when you want the formulas to be copied and to change, you use relative references. But whenever you have a constant, you have a fixed value that you want to remain constant whilst the formula is copied, then you use the absolute reference. And then when you want a part, either the row or the column to be fixed and the other um, to change, then you use mixed referencing. Okay, so the data set that was used for this activity is going to be available in the link in the description and the comment. So check the comment and click on the link to download the data set and practice. Practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more you these things. So Excel formulas are not supposed to be tricky if you understand referencing. So just go through module 4 and module 5, watch the videos again and practice, and then you get used to Excel formulas. So my name is Dr. Adejo, and this is Coding Keywords. Thank you very much for joining this live session, and this is part of our 10 module course on Introduction to Excel. This is module 5, so we've got 5 more modules, and if you go through these modules, you should be able to have a very good understanding of Excel that prepares you for more advanced applications like using Excel for data analysis or using Excel for automation. So we've been going through the basics. We looked at the Excel interface, and we saw the cells, we saw the sheets, we saw the rows and the columns, we saw the different commands, and then we looked at data entry and editing in Excel, and then we looked at basic formatting in Excel, and then we moved over to working with calculations and formulas and functions in Excel. And today we looked at referencing. Now, referencing is that part of Excel that looks a bit like programming, so to say. So you have to understand the rule, you have to be very careful, and you have to apply it as it should be applied. Okay, so now this is Coding Keywords. I want you to like this video, and I want to see your comments in the comment section. So I want to know what you learned. What did you learn? What do you think about referencing? And have you been stuck before? Okay, so I want to see your feedback in the comment section, and I want you to stay connected to this channel. Apart from the videos that we have on YouTube, we also have a thriving community. We have a community on WhatsApp, a community on Telegram. I want you to check the link in the comment section and join our WhatsApp group, join our Telegram group, and we're part of a community learning all things tech. We learn programming in Python, programming in JavaScript, programming in Java. We look at programming in Scratch as well, and then we also look at analysis. We've got data analysis, we've got machine learning, we have videos for that. We also look at design, and we look at designing in Canva, and that's because tech is all encompassing, and there's no aspect of tech that you don't do design. So we got design in Excel. We've got design in Excel. So Excel is not just about data and calculations and formulas and functions. There's also the design part. We also have design very much in data analysis, where we have our dashboards and all of that. So we look at design, we look at life and logistics, we look at apps that make us more efficient and productive. We also look at entrepreneurship as well. So it's a whole suite. Whichever aspect of tech you're interested in or you want to develop yourself. So connect with us, and then you get resources to support your learning. Here we try to make the learning of tech easy, and that's why it's called Coding Keywords. So we point you to the keywords. The keywords are the main things that explain the concepts. So we point you to the keywords, and with our practice sessions, it's easy for you to pick tech it's easy for you to pick tech because we have a very simplified way of learning here at Coding Keywords. So once again, I say thank you very much for joining this live session and looking forward to seeing you in our next session. In our next session, we're going to be looking at tables in Excel and data organization. You don't want to miss that. That's one very important aspect of Excel that you need to master for you to be able to use Excel efficiently in your work. Excel, of course, is useful whether in for your personal data sets or your work data sets. There's almost no one who has not been affected by Excel one way or the other. So it's good for you to learn Excel. It's good for you to learn Excel so that you can manage your data better, and then you can also understand the data you receive from other people, whether at work, you're able to understand and manipulate data much better. And the world is all about data. We deal with data, whether as text format or number format. So I like to say the text format is like English, the number format is like maths. So maths and English, right? So we've got data in everything we do. So everything we do has to do with gathering data, monitoring data, measuring data, and then making sense out of the data that we take. So even if you're reading a book, you are dealing with text data, massive text data. So you have your data in the alphabets going up to words, words going up to sentences, sentences going up to paragraphs, paragraphs going up to chapters of your book and all of that. So that's text data. If you're dealing with numeric data, your calculations, that has to do with numbers. And then we also have dates data. So we're also working with dates. We work with dates. We also work with booleans. So whether it's true or false, yes or no, that's boolean data. We have customized data. We have data in form of sound. We have data in form of videos. And so we see that all we do is all about working with data. So for us to be able to work smarter, efficiently, better in what we do, it's important that we understand how to work with data, how to analyze data, how to manipulate data. And the first step is the most basic tool, which is Excel. So I invite you to come on board and go through these 10 modules for our introduction to Excel course so that you learn Excel, you master Excel, and then you're good to go. Once you master Excel, the opportunities are so much for you. You can decide to go into data analysis, and then you get to learn some other tools. You get to work with data sets, and you get to get better insights from the data that you work with. And you can also decide to do automation. You can decide to do all kinds of things with Excel. So thank you for joining this live session. See you in the next session, which is Module 6, where we deal with tables in Excel and data organization. Bye.